Call to order the Ascension Parish Council meeting for Wednesday, July 9th. If everyone please stand for their prayer and their pledge, led by our own Councilman Kluwat.
Dear Lord, we thank you for this day. Lord, as we entering this hurricane season, please keep a close eye on the people of Ascension and the surrounding area. And Lord, we ask that you look to the elderly and take care of those that don't have enough to take care of themselves. Lord, tonight we have some special intentions for the loss of some of our community members. Miss Rita Bourgeois, Mr. Donnie Frederick. We have special intentions for the Wagaspack family on their loss. And Lord, we ask for the quick recovery of past Parish President Ronnie Hughes, and we ask for the speedy recovery of Council Member Terry Cazzo. We ask this in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Randy. Roll call, Madam Secretary. All members present with the exception of Councilwoman Cazzo, as Randy mentioned. We wish her well. Councilman Turner and Councilman Melanson. Chair's additions, I would like to note that I'm going to be pulling item number 12. Public comment, sign-in period reminder. If you wish to speak, please fill out a comment card and you'll have 3 minutes. And with that, we'll move into the presentations, and I'm going to address this from the microphone up there. For our proclamation today, it's for Little Angels Day, and I asked the parish president if I could do this one because this one's near and dear to my heart. Today is actually the 10th anniversary of my first daughter's passing away. She was 2 weeks old, and 2 days ago was the 10-year anniversary of my only son, Christian, who passed away after 6 days. And so when I read on the Creole this story and about the Sears family and what they are doing for people who have suffered similar tragedies, I was frankly overcome with emotion. Because as anyone, and this is only recently that I've even been able to talk about this, a lot of people don't even know this, but you know, as I've opened up and kind of started talking about this with people, you come to find everybody has tragedies in their lives. And if you can have any measure of comfort during those times, it just means the world to you. And I thought about when I read this story, and I appreciate the Creole printing it because it shows what a great parish we have and the people in this parish. And for the Sears family, that you guys are willing to take your time and your money and your effort to making these caskets. I just thought about what that would have meant to Jody and I 10 years ago, and I wanted to be the one to thank you personally and to help shine a light on what you guys are doing for our community and for anyone who's experienced similar tragedies. So I'll start with the proclamation here, and then if you guys would want to come up. Thank you. To proclaim Wednesday, July 9th, 2014, as Little Angels Day in Ascension Parish, whereas in June of 2012, local craftsman Bobby Sears closed his cabinet shop after 25 years and decided to build only caskets, and whereas Bobby continued to produce masterpiece work, he learned the plight of families who could not afford a casket for their recently passed child or infant, and they had to settle for an economical burial container. And whereas the thought of an infant loved one being buried in this manner fueled the fire in Bobby to form the nonprofit Little Angels Foundation with his daughter Shay Sears, to provide handmade caskets for children below school age free of charge. And whereas through continuous fundraising efforts, Bobby and Shay have touched the lives of more than 70 families throughout Ascension Parish, East Baton Rouge Parish, and the states of Alabama, Kansas, and Oklahoma, along with requests from other states. And whereas because of the true expression of love and caring, the Seers continue to show for their fellow human beings in this parish and beyond. And whereas with deep gratitude for the meaningful work for the Seers do through the Little Angels Foundation to make each child or infant's journey to the next realm one with dignity, now therefore be it proclaimed that Tommy Martinez, President of the Parish of Ascension, State of Louisiana, by virtue of the authority vested in him, does hereunto proclaim Wednesday, July 9th, 2014, as Little Angels Day in Ascension Parish. Thank you.
I'm going to have to read this. First of all, thank you. This foundation has blessed me with the opportunity to witness what I think is the most giving community in the world. The outpouring of support that we receive when people learn what we do is overwhelming. I knew since it was put on my heart in 2012 that this was bigger than me. I was never used to needing help with anything, and now I'm running something that without substantial help is not going to make it. In less than 2 years, the Little Angels Foundation has provided caskets for 76 little angels, the majority of them being in Ascension and surrounding parishes. We've also shipped to South Carolina, Oklahoma, California. None of that would have been possible without community support. So I greatly appreciate and am humbled by all who take part in what we do for others. No matter how small that part may seem, we say thank you and thank you again. The recognition we are receiving tonight is an honor. It is also important in spreading awareness of our mission. This may result in reaching someone in need who didn't know we existed. It also may help us reach someone who is in a position to help us, which is crucial for us to continue serving families in our community and worldwide, nationwide. The way our community comes together in times of crisis is a beautiful display of Southern hospitality and compassion. We can't fulfill our mission alone. We need everyone from business owners to political figures to everyday citizens volunteering their time. Thank you again for honoring us, and we look forward to your ongoing support, and we hope you stay close by to see our great community continue to come together and take part in the Little Angels Foundation, making a difference across the country for many years to come. Thank you.
Bobby, if you would share the website for people to go out and learn more.
Yeah.
What is the website for Shay?
You can follow us on Facebook. That's facebook.com/The Little Angels Foundation. And our website is thelittleangelsfoundation.org.
And I wanted to just to let everyone know as well, on that site you'll find a pledge donation if you are so moved. And I just wanted to share, I wanted to ask if you guys would do me the honor of every year on this date taking that pledge for me and to honor my twins. I appreciate it. And I encourage everyone to donate and support if you are moved by what they've done. And thanks again.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks. Madam Secretary, please note that Councilman Lawson and Councilman Turner have arrived. We'll move into Parish President's report, Mr. President.
I guess everybody's wondering about these two huge trophies in front of you, and I am too. So anyway, I'm going to call Mr. Larry Schexnayder up. I was told that they won quite an award here recently, and I'd like him to come up and tell us all about it, and then I'll read a proclamation.
Well, this past week was quite exciting for a little studio from Gonzales, Louisiana. I wanted to tell you guys about it. We're kind of proud about it, and we know that quite a few people in this parish are unaware, but recently my studio, Center Stage Performing Arts Academy, went to Orlando, Florida for a national competition, and we competed against 19 other studios from all over the country, California, New York, Pittsburgh, Georgia, even Toronto, Canada, all over. And what we do there is, as a performing arts studio, you compete against other studios in all the disciplines, vocal performance, dance, musical theater, and all kind of types. Different age groups, different groups, solos versus small groups, and then big group numbers. So I think totally for the whole week, we had, for the whole competition, there was close to 800 numbers. This is a huge event. And Center Stage, at the end of the week, we brought home the best trophy for the performing arts, which is the Broadway Cup, which is the one right here to my right. And not only that, but we also brought home the best dancing cup, the Las Vegas Cup, which is here on my left. And for the company that produced this, this is the first time that's ever happened in the 17-year history of the company. They said no studio has ever brought both of the trophies, because you're either good at one or you're good at another. And we competed with some studios in New York, for example, that all they do is dance, and they're in New York, and they were shocked. We had dinner one night, and the lady who owns that company was talking to me, and she kept saying, "Now where are you from? Now where are you from?" And she thought it was New Orleans, and when I told her, no, it's not New Orleans, and she couldn't find it on a map. And she said, "Well, how did you find all these amazingly talented kids?" And I said, "They work their butts off. That's what they do." And these trophies are a representation of what they did on stage, but part of the reason why I'm here is, more importantly, is what they did off stage. I want you guys to know that these kids were a supreme ambassador for this community, constantly being recognized for their positive attitude towards other opposing team members. When another team would be up there doing their number, our kids would clap for them, and we're always nice off, and quite a few times we got recognized for that, and that makes me a lot happier than these trophies. So I just wanted to let you know we exist. The performing arts is alive and well, even though we don't have an auditorium in this parish, which is a shame. But hopefully this will help spur something on, and we can do bigger and better things, and I appreciate it.
Councilman Kluwer?
Well, we've got some of our students and some of our parents, and the one thing, there's not a whole lot of people here. We've got over 100 students on our competition team, which is called the Stars Company. When one of the things, for example, the owners of a company in Pittsburgh, he says, "How do you get every one of your parents to wear black shirts?" Because we have T-shirts. So Alex, stand up. You see, Alex? That's a Center Stage shirt. That's a Star shirt. You can imagine 250 people with this on, and you look at the other team supporters in the audience. They're not wearing their same T-shirts, and they were dumbfounded by this. And I said, "That's just what you do when you're from South Louisiana. If you have a baseball team, you travel and you wear the shirt." And they just didn't understand this, but they were jealous. They could not believe this. The lady from Toronto asked me if I would go up there and hold a parent conference, because she said, "I need you to train my parents, not only to train them to get their kids to take more than 2 hours a week class," which some of these kids take a lot more than that, right? They live there, right, Benny? And she said, "That doesn't happen up there. We can't convince our parents that this is something." I said, "Well, if you show them results, hopefully you'll get a couple of parents that'll believe in it, And so she said, "Come up to Canada and do a parent conference." I said, "Send me a ticket in the mail. I'll be there." So I wish my wife was here. She's in New York. She's on her way back here. But She is the director, and she's really the mastermind behind all of this. But a couple of the judges who judge the whole week, they are professionals. They are Broadway performers, former Broadway performers, extensive background. And to a person, they said that there's no other company in the United States like Center Stage. They've been judging all over. They travel all over the country judging the different competitions. I wish I could explain you all the details, but it'd take forever. But the bottom line is they just said, we don't see any other companies like you guys. And it's great. It's great to hear that in Orlando, Florida, but you know, we try to bring the word to Gonzales, Louisiana, or Ascension Parish, and it's a little tough, you know. So we just want to let you guys know that we exist, and we're doing great things, and hopefully we'll get that theater one day, and we'll continue to do more. Okay, we appreciate that.
Councilman Clore?
Yeah, Larry, just a quick
Yes.
word.
Sure.
Hey, I want to thank you. You know, we met through the Ascension Community Theater, and I want to thank you for sharing your talent and to you and your staff. And you know, you've always done great work, and we thank you for sending some of your folks on to other theaters and around the country to exercise the craft that they've learned. And but just a quick note, it's we got a little while before Saturday night, you know, so you might work with Councilman Shakespeare over there. You know,
We're the best dance company in America, but we're not that good.
okay. Well, I just thought you might want to lend a hand. You know?
Call them all up and I'll read the
Yeah.
proclamation.
Yeah.
All of them, you know,
Our parents are part of it, yeah,
Right.
definitely. Come on, Amy, you can represent. Look, now they're shy.
Well, we're certainly proud of you and certainly congratulate you on such a great honor. And thank you so much for representing Ascension Parish in such a great way. So, I'm going to read a proclamation. Proclaim Sunday, July 13th, 2014 as the Center Stage Stars Day in Ascension Parish. Whereas in 2000, Ascension Parish residents Larry and Linda Schexnayder opened the doors of the Center Stage Performing Arts Academy in Gonzales and quickly established its reputation as a leading institution for training in the performing arts. Whereas their award-winning competition team, the Center Stage Stars Company, began in 2003 with 10 members and has grown tenfold as they perform across the United States, where many of these multi-talented students have continued their training at some of the best universities nationwide and can be seen performing on stages from Broadway to Hollywood. And whereas the Center Stage Stars team, made up of performers ages 5 to 19, competed in the prestigious Excess Broadway National Competition in Orlando, Florida in July 2014, whereas with the help of the parents volunteering their time and talents, the Center Stage Stars competed solo, small group, and large group categories, including vocal, acting, musical theater, and all types of dance. Whereas when the 5-day competition ended, one studio had multiple winners in the varied categories, while also winning both the Broadway Cup and the Las Vegas Cup, a first in Access Broadway's 17-year history. The studio is the Center Stage Performing Arts Academy. And now, therefore, it be proclaimed, I, Tommy Martin, as President of the Parish of Ascension, State of Louisiana, by the virtue of the authority vested in me, do hereunto proclaim Sunday, July 13th, 2014, as the Center Stage Stars Day in Ascension Parish. So, congratulations. And again, I hope that you did work with Kent for Saturday night.
They took enough pictures, they ought to know how to do it. I didn't do anything, my daughter did it all.
Thank you.
And remind me about Sunday. Remind me about Sunday.
We're gonna have a get-together on Sunday at 5:30 to 7:30 at the Jambalaya Park in Gonzales to welcome home the cups and honor the kids. And so if you get a chance, come on out, and it'll be a really fun evening. So thank you.
Thank you. And the only thing I have left is to remind everybody that Saturday is Dancing for a Cause. It's COEA event, and it's a great benefit to the community and to that organization. And we'd like to extend a welcome to all of you. It starts at 7 o'clock. It's Lamar Dixon. And again, we have our first councilman that ever danced in the competition, Mr. Kent Shakespeare, and we can call him Twinkle Toes from now on. But anyway, hope that you can join everyone there and join the crowd and come out and support Kent and all the other dancers who's doing it for a great cause.
Thank you, Mr. President. We'll move on to item number 7. The chair will entertain a motion on the consent agenda.
So moved.
I have a motion by Councilman Johnson.
Second.
By Councilman Kluwat. Any objections? Consent agenda is adopted. We'll move on to committee recommendations. Item number 8, Utilities Committee recommendation, resolution to disapproval of any request for an increase in rates by any private wastewater treatment providers operating in the parish of Ascension. Before I turn it over to Benny, I have a comment from Rob Rieger. Rob?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members, my name is Rob Rieger. I practice law at Adams and Reese in Baton Rouge, and we proudly represent Ascension Wastewater Treatment. We rise to express some concerns with this resolution. Ascension Wastewater Treatment is a responsible wastewater system operated, privately owned and operated, lifetime Ascension Parish residents. Companies, individuals that are a large part of this community, deep roots in the community, and a commitment to excellence and quality in this community and everything that they do. They recently satisfied a system of a series of DEQ compliance orders, completed $10 million worth of improvements to their systems with rate relief applied from the Public Service Commission. As any good responsible operator needs to do, you have to stay current with all of the regulatory regulations as they come down. We have to ask for rate relief again to be able to comply with the total maximum load changes that DEQ has adopted that Washington sent down through the EPA. That is one of the reasons for our rate increase. We train our operators to be responsible operators, to be responsive. We have invested in remote monitoring technology that allow our folks to understand if there are problems within the systems before problems become complaints from our customers. There is a commitment to training, a commitment to excellence, a commitment to continuous quality management, meaning they're going to stay on top of all of the things that they can to be able to provide a safe, sanitary, and compliant operation. In that part, rate relief is part of what you do. You know, no private operator anywhere in the state of Louisiana has got the wherewithal to continue to do things out of their pocket, and that's what the Pertwee family is doing right now, supporting some of the operations of the company to keep things going. We have arranged for a line of credit to be able to finance additional improvements that we need to make. One improvement that our ratepayers and customers came to us, and your citizens, said we want to see backup generators. We want to see the ability to have service and our toilets flush and our sinks clean and everything else during major storm events. Regrettably, we've had a few of those in South Louisiana. The company prior to this rate relief had a schedule of pump outs that they used with generators that they had, but that became a bit of a more expensive proposition. So in polling some of their customers, the customers said, yes, we want backup generators and we will be happy to pay for it in rate relief. So that's one of the reasons that that is in our very complex and very detailed rate filings. We have nothing to hide. We put in everything that we need, and when we were doing the construction program for the compliance order, we had some cost overruns, some things that we needed to take care of. Why? No company in South Louisiana that I'm aware of has ever undertaken a complete rebuild of the project. We were the first ones to do that. Because of this and because of the excellence the company displayed in completing the projects, they were named the 2013 Rural Water Company of the Year.
Rob, I'm going to have to ask you to wrap it up.
Yes, sir,
Okay.
Mr. President. We believe that passing a resolution like this, really does not send the correct message to private venture capital, folks that want to invest and do things, and that if you look at the record, none of the concerns that are expressed in the whereases apply to Ascension wastewater treatment. For those reasons, we would ask that this resolution either be amended to exclude responsible operators such as Ascension wastewater treatment, or we ask that it be deferred at this time. And I'll be happy to answer any questions that the council might have.
I'll turn it over to our Utilities Chairman, Mr. Benny Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Utilities Committee met earlier this month and adopted a resolution or voted to send a resolution to the full council, and I'll go ahead and read that resolution now. Whereas in order to protect the health and safety of the residents of Ascension Parish, has initiated an aggressive wastewater treatment program to provide safe and cost-effective sewer treatment, and whereas the parish is responsible for ensuring residents are provided safe and healthy environments, and whereas the ultimate goal of Ascension Parish government is to maintain chemical, physical, and biological integrity of the rivers and streams and to restore local waterways so that our citizens will not be subjected to limited usage of our waterways due to physical and chemical impairment caused by wastewater discharge. And whereas many of the private wastewater treatment providers in the parish have not properly maintained, operated, and the systems over the years which result in current noncompliance and insanitary conditions that directly affect our waterways, and whereas the abrupt response of installing improvements to these systems may provide additional justification towards elevated values of the systems if negotiations and sales are to occur. Now therefore be it duly resolved by the Ascension Parish Council of the Parish of Ascension that the Ascension Parish Council hereby recommends that the Public Service Commission strongly consider rejecting any request for an increase in rates by any private wastewater treatment providers operating in the Parish of Ascension. That motion was made and adopted by the Utilities Committee unanimously, and I would make that motion that the resolution be adopted here tonight.
Okay, I have a motion by Councilman Johnson on this resolution.
A second.
Second by Councilman Kluwat. Discussion?
Discussion, Mr. Chairman.
Councilman Dempsey Lambert.
I'd like to also hear from my staff with Mr. Dawson and a few others from our staff here. I really have a problem with denying any private company any rate increase. I don't care if it's wastewater, water, gas. Fellas, we coming into the hurricane season right now. Something happens, you have a major disaster in this parish, again, like we had in Katrina, in Gustav. These people need backup. They mentioned the backup generators. I've got 2 subdivisions that, I mean, you know, 100 or 200 lots. I mean, this is going to mean a lot. If we can get these type of backups in, you're going to save homes, you're going to save, I mean, people, if you can't flush your toilet, this is, you know, I've never heard of this. You know, I want to be as generous as possible, but I'm just not, I'm not comfortable with sending a resolution to, you know, to Public Service Commission on letting a company go forward. I mean, you know, I've been knowing Mr. Tom here all my life. I started out right beside him in the working situation. I've been in utilities for 28 years. I just don't feel comfortable sending this resolution on.
Okay. Councilman Johnson.
This resolution is not directed at any one particular company. For many, many years, there's been, all the companies have gone through different cycles of where either they are currently or have been under some sort of compliance issues or orders through DEQ. And so part of it lends to timing as to now that we have moving forward with a $60 million effort towards wastewater treatment in the parish. This potentially has the effect of being
a detriment to that progressing forward and moving at a higher cost to what it would take for us to do our business. I think it's prudent. I think it's one of the things that if Mr. Pertwee, as he has laid out the case and believes, and as I've talked to him today, that he's got a legitimate thing. This is a non-binding resolution to the Public Service Commission that if he makes his case, they have the authority, we don't, to go ahead and grant him his rate increase. All we're saying is to consider our part of what's going into this and cost additions that it's going to cost us to our citizens when we try to move forward with our system. It's not any direct impact on him or anybody else. It's a generic resolution that looks out for what I believe to be the best interest of the parish. And that's why the resolution was brought forward. There's multiple companies going after rate increases. Ascension Wastewater is not the only one. And so this is an effort to try to work through that and make sure that the best interests of the people that we represent are taken into account. And that's the Public Service Commission's purview to do that.
Councilman Kluwat?
Yeah, look, when it comes to wastewater, things like that, that's ground infrastructure, it's not like you don't like your phone company and change to somebody else, okay? There's been a lot of things went in front of the Public Service Commission over the years. I don't know that every company did their due diligence to explain to the people that have their service exactly why. Whether you do it through mail outs or do it through whatever subdivision meetings or whatever. But I've had calls from folks that, we represent people. They went through a significant increase several years back and going through another increase now. They don't have the ability to go stand up at the Public Service Commission and plead their cases. They don't have 17, they don't have an entourage with them. They call out to us to try to do our due diligence to try to look out for their better interests. I agree with Councilman Johnson that, if this is not going to be up to us, it's going to be up to the Public Service Commission. And if your paperwork seems good and you got everything right, then you'll probably get your rate increase.
Is it appropriate for me, Mr. President, to respond to any of this?
Actually, it's not, sir.
Okay.
We have
Yes,
questions.
yeah,
We'll be called upon.
So I agree with going forward with this resolution at this time. I've also been told today that by somebody that, talking about setting precedences. Well, if representing people is setting precedences in this day and age, then I guess we might do that. I don't know. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Councilman Schicksteiner?
Yes, thank you. I have a number of problems and questions about this point and this issue, and struggling comes to terms with all of the problems we have. Fact of the matter is, in this parish, and I understand why the Utilities Committee recommended this. If you take the total discharge in this parish from private utility companies, it's way over what it should be by all accounts. We're discharging into our rivers and streams an exorbitant amount of material coming from the sewer plants, existing sewer plants, that's way above what it should be. That's just, when you go talk to DEQ, they'll tell you that. If you talk to everyone else involved, they'll tell you that, and we need to try to help solve that problem. And I think what everybody's trying to do is just solve the problem. We have to stay on that track. Some providers are better than others. It does get frustrating to have a provider that when you walk out there and you see basically raw sewage emptied in a ditch if it gets to the sewer plant, and there's nothing you can do about it. It is frustrating that we finally get an opportunity to go to the legislature and put a law in effect that this parish actually can do something about the providers that are in our parish that are not discharging properly, and we try to do some legislation to be regulatory and watch out for the people in our parish and make sure they're doing what they are supposed to do by putting the proper amount of treatment into their sewer. And we are fought by the very same people that are going for rate increases. I have no problem with companies going to the Public Service Commission and getting rate increases to make themselves better. That's just a fundamental thing with me. Whatever it takes, and if you can get agreement from them, and you come back and you make the citizens of Ascension Parish a better wastewater treatment plant, fantastic. Have at it. My big problem is that we've been battling this for a long period of time, and we're not getting the results that we really need. And so I would like to see the Public Service Commission also put forth some stipulations in there that these rate increases would see some results and would allow, or they would recommend to the state legislature that we could get involved with some regulating capacity, some capacity to find vendors that are not doing what they're supposed to do. If you're a vendor that's doing what you're supposed to do and you're meeting all the regulations, you have no problem. You have no qualms. You should have no qualms about us getting involved and meeting a regulatory capacity. I know the parish struggled at time when we were trying to get the jail in good shape, and we finally met that, and we got fined, and rightfully so, and we took care of things like we're supposed to. This parish is getting into the wastewater treatment business because you have to eventually. And we're going to be expected to meet those requirements. We're going to be expected to be able to lower these discharges into our bayous. And so we're going to have to work with these different companies. So I don't feel like I can support a resolution to not allow companies to ask for an increase, but I would like to add to it that we would recommend to the Public Service Commission to have them recommend some regulatory abilities for the parishes, which municipalities all have. People don't realize that. The cities all ready to do this, but the parish cannot. So it happened this year in Lafayette. They brought forth legislation, and they're getting involved in this, and we got left out. So for the people in this parish that want to go swimming in our bayous, that want to go fishing and eat the fish in our bayous and want to have clean waters, please get involved, and hopefully we can get something passed in the legislature this year that will put some teeth into these guidelines and everything. But I'm all for that. I'm all for moving forward. And it doesn't matter to me whether a private provider or the public is providing good sewer treatment. You know, the main thing is to get proper sewer treatment for this parish. So with that, you know, I'm just going to decline to support the resolution, but I would support some regulatory language in that for the parish.
Other discussion?
One other.
Councilman Dempsey.
Parish President, Mr. Dawson. Our two main Highway 73, Highway 42 projects are coming up. With the ability, not the ability to get to the river, what are we doing? Are we going to have a line there to nowhere, or what are we working on?
No, sir, Councilman. What we're working on, with, initially there were possibly two solutions to resolve the issue of the tail lines from 73 being connected. First, we were going to put a treatment plant at the fire station and then treat it ourselves. Secondly, there was a thought that well, maybe there was extra capacity with existing treatment companies and possibly utilizing extra capacity to treat. I can definitely say that AWT has been working with us and trying to come to that particular resolution. We're still in the process of negotiation. Hopefully, we can get that done by by Friday. So 42 is the same situation. I mean, we will have to do something to move that transportation project forward by putting some type of treatment system on 42 to handle those tail lines. If there's extra capacity there, we'll try to do that. Excuse me. We'll try to do that as well.
Okay. That's really all I have. Thank you, Mr. Dawson. You know, it's just, I would, you know, and here we are, the goods sometimes have to suffer for the bad, and I hate this as having to, you know, to happen like this, but, you know, I'm just not going to be able to support this resolution.
Councilman Joseph? Did you have any?
Yeah.
Councilman Sarli?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I really don't have a lot to add or subtract, but I wanted to be a gatekeeper, and now my colleague here, since he was the minority viewpoint at the time, asked to hear from Mr. Dawson and also the president. I don't know if the president still wants that opportunity, but that's more or less why I asked the chairman to recognize me. I wanted to hear what they had to say. One comment, though, Ken, about that capacity. Do we have a cooperative endeavor agreement or anything like that with any wastewater treatment company, private, to take?
It's in the process. We haven't done anything yet, but it's in the process. Hopefully we can have that done by this week. Right.
Thank you.
We have exchanged drafts of cooperative endeavor agreements with your parish attorney.
Councilman Joseph?
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, we went through this here same thing with a company when ACUD1 was with People Water Company. And once again, all this resolution going to do is just voice your opinion. As a councilman, as this parish, voicing your opinion that you do have some concerns on them rates. Unfortunately, we didn't take that advantage when People Water Company went with theirs. We didn't go up there. Their rates went up to 42% increase. 42% increase. They had to split it. The first year, it went up, 22, and then the second year, 2 years later, it went up. So all this is protecting the public to ensure that we know what that rate increase is going to be. And if we have anything to say about it, we voice our opinion. But as Johnson and Mr. Clark said, it's not up to us. It's up to the commission. And they're going to look at their document, how much money they spent. From what I hear, phone call today, they say they spent $10 million. They're a private industry. The utility district, committee going to look at that and say, how are they going to get their investment back? We might fight it, but if the numbers prove they are right, they're going to vote that way. But we have to have a voice to protect our citizens. And I think that's all we are doing tonight. That's all. Thank you.
Okay. Councilman Todd Lambert.
Yeah, I want to commend Ascension Water because I know they're spending a lot of money to upgrade their systems. I have a couple of systems in my district from other vendors that's, I'm always having issues with them, and I want to commend y'all first of all. But this is why we have a Public Service Commission. They're a board that handles this situation. Whether we say something, they may listen to us, I'm not sure, but bottom line, they just got to follow compliance and follow the laws. They got laws just like what we have to pass ordinance here. So I don't know if we need to go with a resolution, and especially, the goods going to, pay for it, for the ones that, the reason why we're going with this resolution. So I'm not sure I'm for this resolution also.
Councilman Johnson?
And just a point that was made, and again, I'm not out for punishing the good, but in this particular case, the point that was made is Ascension Wastewater is one of the best that we have in the parish, if not the best. There's no doubt about that. They've done a lot of work here in the last few years. Nobody's arguing that point. The fact still remains that there's a lot of non-compliance. There's a lot of folks that are dumping their waste streams into our ditches that we're having to pay to maintain, to cut, and dig out on a routine basis. And it's not fair to our citizens that they're sucking up that cost. And nothing's happening with it. But in the end, again, gentlemen can't stress this enough, and I think Mr. Pertwee's done a job on this particular rate increase request that he's got going forward. And if he's done the job that he thinks he has done and he thinks he's done well with, then he will get his rate increase. This is a non-binding resolution. It's not made to penalize him or anybody else other than the people that don't do their due diligence before the Public Service Commission. That's what this resolution is about. It's about protecting the citizens that we represent as far as the future of sewer impact in this parish, and that's what our goal is. It's not to penalize anybody. We're not here to penalize anybody. We're not here to make or break anybody. We're here to try to protect the people that we represent, and that's what the reason the resolution was brought forth and the thought process behind it. So I respect the opinions of the gentleman who can support it, but I would encourage him to look at it from that standpoint of view as to why the resolution and what the intent of it is. Thank you.
Councilman Shakespeare.
Yeah, real quick, and the other thing that's important is that we've had discussions already and come to the conclusion that the parish is going to have to charge between $45 and $55 a month for sewer treatment if you get under a parish system in order to break even. A number of these sewer companies are charging $30, $35, and so on, and they're not meeting the standards. So what will happen, I think is going to be a backlash, is that if parish takes it over, as far as the people are concerned, they're getting their sewer treated for $30. Everything's fine. It's hunky-dory. They flush their toilets and everything's fine. They pay their $30 and everything's fine. And then the parish takes over that system, and all of a sudden the first thing we do is go up to $45 or $50. And they're not going to see that difference of the expenditures that you have to do because it's all hidden. Go and fix a plant and things, the tremendous expense to make that regulatory target is a big expense. And so if we're telling people that it's going to take $45, $55 to meet the regulations to break even, then we need to be able to allow private providers a certain amount to get close to that so that they can meet that. And it will also, in my opinion, benefit the parish when eventually we take over and you don't have this tremendous rate hike that the parish imposes upon somebody. Whether it increases the cost of taking over that system, my own personal concern is if they're meeting the regulations and they're doing a good job, we don't need to take it over. We can bypass that. We don't need to buy it. And if everybody in this parish would be, we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be worrying about it. There wouldn't be a sewer problem. So I think we can try to do that, and if they're not meeting the standards, then we need to get some regulatory capacity and show everybody that their system is not worth what they're saying it is. So I'd rather fight for the idea of identifying these problem systems and taking care of that and try to improve these systems than anything else. And I agree with the intent of what we're doing. I'm not against that at all. I just think we would accomplish that a different way.
Councilman Sarley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I guess I didn't tell the whole truth by saying I had nothing to add or subtract. But I'd like to think I'm open-minded as I listen to this discussion. And with the weight fully in the realization that as a member of the Utilities Committee, I did vote to support this. But I think everybody needs to understand, I think my fellow councilmen do, but anybody listening out there, and yourself, Mr. Reiger, that was just a recommendation to this committee.
Yes, sir.
And I'm struggling here all of a sudden, so I need one more question answered. I don't know if this would go to Ken. I don't mean to put you in a hot spot. DEQ obviously is not here tonight, or maybe even O'Neill or whoever wants to jump in. You made a comment that all these whereases don't affect AWT that you represent. The fourth one specifically says, whereas many of the private wastewater treatment providers in the parish have not properly maintained or operated their systems, and I've heard the argument here tonight that many is a non-bonding and it's broad stroked and so forth, but nonetheless, clearly you are one of at least two that I'm aware asking for a rate increase.
Yes, sir.
The third being, without putting names out there, bankrupt. And so there's no doubt as you go on in the sentence, over the years it says, you've been guilty of this, which results, and here's the part, in current non-compliance, that word current, and insanitary conditions that directly affect our waterways. Is this company in compliance right now or not?
I don't know the current records of what DEQ has. I mean, previously, there definitely was some non-compliance issues, but as was stated here tonight, there was some work that was done to bring them up to the current standards. I don't know exactly what those numbers are now. I didn't have a chance to check with DEQ before I got here, and so that's not sure, Councilman.
So when are they going to meet? They meaning the Public Service Commission to make a decision on this rate increase. In other words, do we have time at this point if we don't have maybe all the information that I would like to have? Maybe the councilmen have made their mind up, that we could defer this, or is it such a tight deadline that if we don't say something now, we'll miss that opportunity?
I'm not sure of those dates. I can get them to you, but I know they had a meeting today.
Well, we would need them tonight if we can make a motion.
The dates of when they meet, because I'm not.
Yes, to respond to the councilman's question, the Public Service Commission meets once a month. I do not know when this application for relief will be scheduled. I'm thinking it will. I think if the concern was you'd like to get more facts and information, I can confidently tell you that you have plenty of time to do that if that's what.
Well, you're going to tell me though that you're in compliance. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Absolutely, passionately in compliance.
How can I be absolutely certain of that?
Beg your pardon?
How can I be absolutely certain of that? I'm not trying to say you're not telling the whole truth and nothing but the truth. But the resolution does say current. And I do read the stuff that was in our packet. And by the way, that was not in our packet when we did the resolution. I believe you're the author of it, 21 pages of 25 or 6, whatever it is, of describing the history of your company. And I think it admits that there's been problems and all, but that you're trying real hard to fix them. And that's great. But the question is, are they fixed right now in order to make this decision?
Yes, sir. They are fixed right now. What we're trying to do in our rate increase is continue to meet the new standards that are coming down, to do exactly the sorts of things that Councilman Schecksteiner was talking about, to reduce the load and that will go into the greater Manchac area in that part of it. About 30% of our systems required enhanced treatment, and that's what this rate increase will allow us to do. These are regulations that DEQ has said you've got to come into compliance with, and we have a period of time to do that. Period of time is such to allow us to get rate relief, borrow the money, make the improvements, and report to the folks. Now, if I could, with our last rate case, to the protections that the members of this body were concerned about, the Public Service Commission made it very clear that we were not going to be able to draw down our money unless we filed quarterly reports that were audited by a professional engineer to talk about all the improvements that we did. You know, the commission was concerned that, as had happened with other providers, they took the money and ran. Okay, we had absolutely no problem with those sorts of protocols. They also asked that the rate increase be put in subject to bond, meaning if we did not make the improvements and defaulted on our obligations, that the ratepayers would be protected, that those things would be done. When I say with all proudness that we were the water company of the year, that says a lot. Okay, it's the first time an entity in this area, a Rural Water Association, a very folks' objective viewpoint of things, honor somebody like that. That's a testament to the integrity of the company and their commitment to do things in an environmentally responsible manner. And our concern is that although this body can resolve anything it wants to resolve that it deems in the best interest, that this sort of thing sends exactly the wrong signal, you know, to the folks. We absolutely understand your obligation to take care of the citizens. That's not the argument with us. Our notion is this thing paints too broad a brush right at this moment, and it does not take into consideration the people who have stepped to the plate and done all of those things that a prudent operator needs to do. That is our real concern. If I can answer any other questions, I'll be happy to.
Maybe not yourself, but I'll be a gatekeeper again. We heard from you, Mr. Dawson, but I'll be Bill O'Reilly here. Mr. President, what say you?
Well, I think when someone's in non-compliance, they're given 4 years to get into compliance. Is that correct? So I think that as far as being in compliance, with the compliance order, I think that that is true. I'm not sure that all the compliances are met. I don't know, I have that information. I would have to check with DEQ.
So,
I can't
I'm not
answer your
quite sure.
question.
I heard what you
I
said. I'm
can't
not
tell
quite
you,
sure
I
I
can't
understand
tell
what you
you
said.
an honest
So-
answer, okay? Because I don't know the answer, other than I know that when someone's given a compliance order, that they are given 4 years to meet that compliance order.
Right.
I think Mr. Riga or Mr. Pertwee would have to answer your question from that regards. Of the compliance order that was given to them, I don't know how many years ago, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, have they met all those compliance?
Is there an explanation why DEQ is not here? To me, that would be the entity to ask.
Well, this is just a resolution.
Just a resolution.
This is not an ordinance or anything. This is
But
just
let
basically.
me ask my chairman then, do we have the opportunity, Chris, to defer this thing and still be able to speak on it? Or you feel like it's going to go up in front of the PSC and they're going to make a decision? Because I'm going to tell you, the reason I supported it is when Councilman Benny Johnson presented to us as a committee, and he knows this, and I think the rest of this council does, I don't have any particular pities for any company, regardless of who you are, you know, if you are out of compliance and messing things up. But I also I concur with several of the councilmen, like we named 2 or 3 here tonight. I guess that's Dempsey and maybe Kent and maybe even Randy, if I'm not mistaken, the way they seem to be leaning. That, you know, I'm not for getting into private companies' businesses if they're doing the right thing. Now, so we're back to square one again. It's very, very difficult to make this decision all of a sudden, and I honestly didn't expect this to happen, and that's what's good, you know, to have a discussion like this. So, Chris, what say you?
It's whatever the pleasure of the body is. There's anyone wishes to make a motion on anything, we can vote on that, discuss that.
Okay, is there more discussion, or you want to entertain an amendment, a substitute motion?
I'd like to discuss a little bit.
Or maybe, you want to make a substitute?
If you're willing to yield the floor for further discussion, it's up to you.
I'll yield the floor for further discussion.
Okay. Councilman Johnson, you want to go, and then Councilman Blue?
But, there's more than one rate increase that's up before Public Service Commission. I'm not sure when either or are scheduled to go towards that. And so as far as pushing it off, we can do that. I don't know that it's one of the things that's going to provide anything if something happens while we're not doing it. But again, whether it be Ascension Wastewater or anybody else, if they do their due diligence and they have their paperwork in order and they make their justify their case to the Public Service Commission, they'll get their rate increase. This is not going to stop it. But to Councilman Shakespeare's points earlier, I don't ever remember any discussion, and the parish president, correct me if I'm wrong, and folks that have been around here a lot longer than I have, Councilman Lambert, Dempsey Lambert, or Todd Lambert, I don't ever remember the parish talking about getting in the sewer business for less than $45 a month to begin with. So whether it's Ascension Wastewater or MoDad or Density or any other company raising their rates or the parish raising their rates, that to me is a moot point. The rates are going to go up eventually to do those things. But I think what's important on our part as the parish is concerned is that part of the reason it's driving our cost up is the initial investment in equipment and infrastructure. We weren't given anything. Okay? A lot of these subdivision providers, they go in there, they build the systems for the subdivision developer, and then the subdivision developer turns the system over to turnkey for no cost. We don't have that luxury, gentlemen. We're going to have to pay for every piece of pipe we put in the ground, and this is going to drive that cost up. The way you divert those costs is you get more customers. You spread your operation and maintenance costs and your construction costs over a wider base of people. If we don't do that, then our cost per customer is going to go up. If you think $65 a month is cheap, I've heard well of over $100 a month, depending on who you talk to. And so that's why I raised the caution that I raised. I'm not out here throwing darts at any individual company. I'm basically stating as I understand it. And the resolution being pushed off for a month, whether it goes through or fails the next time it's brought up, it's up to a majority of the people here, and I'll honor that. But the thing about it is that what does it hurt if any company goes forward to the Public Service Commission with their rate increase, again, they have their ducks in a row, their paperwork there justifying their means for going up for a rate increase. The Public Service Commission has no reason, based on what we're putting up there, to deny it. And I'll stand by those statements. This is basically, I believe, something that's prudent on our part to make sure that we put forth an opinion out there for the Public Service Commission to consider and do a due diligence on their end to make sure that if the rate increase is justified, that they look at it a little bit closer to make sure that what they're doing is correct and they give them their rate increase. I'm not going to harp or get mad at any particular company or anything else or rant and rave and say how we're getting messed over if they get it. But it is what it is. They need to justify their thing, and we need to put out there why we believe our case is what our case is. And I think the resolution does that, and I stand by that.
Councilman Kluwer.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring up the fact that, Mr. Pertwee, or whomever, if you do a good job, I'm good with that, okay? One of the things that we're facing is basically the amount of effluent that we put out and the contamination in the streams within our parish and flowing down through our parish. And we're up against the wall on that, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right? And we need to get it cleaned up. One of our initiatives with a parish-wide sewer system is basically to take areas, even where I live, where there's not a municipal system or a private system, and get them in line and get them out the back ditches and get it into a line going to be treated to the river and all. Benny brought up one point. I was going to ask Ricky Compton, our planning and zoning director, to come up, but I don't want to put him on the spot tonight. But I mean, just basically, we look at these plots of these subdivisions, and you correct me if I'm wrong, or Mr. Pertwee can, is the amount of investment that the private company has when they're turned over from a new subdivision, and all the pipe, the sewer treatment system, everything. Generally, we're told, I want to educate the public right now. Generally, we're told that the developer pays for all that. And it's basically given to the wastewater company that's going to, they accept ownership of all that infrastructure and that system as the subdivision is put in. Is that?
Historically, I believe that to be the case.
So that is correct.
I can't speak to every one of Mr. Pertwee's subdivisions, but some of them,
But
yes.
generally, that's
Some
what
of
we,
them.
that's what we see, and that's what I've always been told, so maybe I was told wrong. Right? I think your best due diligence going forward to the Public Service Commission or anywhere is to get a better understanding from the people that, once more, I must stress, that this is not the telephone service or the cable TV. They can't decide tomorrow they don't like your rates, they're going with somebody else. And no different than when they get on a parish system. It's infrastructure, because basically we got rules. If they decide they don't want to get in your system and they dig a new pipe and go to a ditch, we got regulations that's going to stop them from that, all right? Seriously. And, so that kind of puts the citizen in a bind. And sometimes they feel like things are just coming on around them that they have no control over. You'd mentioned Manchac a couple times, the Manchac area.
Yes, sir.
Okay? That may be your big problem area, okay? Definitely the most populated growth, all that, all right? Largest systems, definitely a canal that everybody looks at every time a drop of water goes in it, And, but with that, in some of the lower ends of the parish where your company does have systems, those people might have a good little system operating good, but their fees keep getting increased. They don't see any change. I mean, there's, you didn't hang any gold tags on the toilets or nothing. You know what I'm saying? That's it.
Councilman, I
Nothing's
understand
changing.
the dilemma.
So at some point, the people that you serve got to understand why you're asking for the money and everything. I'm sure the Public Service Commission will understand why, because that's what they do for a living. And they've got a staff that studies those numbers, runs them down. They're running them past DEQ, for months before it's agreed upon. But the people you serve, and that's the people we represent, got to understand that. That's all I'm asking. Somehow, some campaign, some way, Tom, through your hard efforts and your work, is the people that we represent got to understand more than it's just an increase. Okay, that there's a need, and not only not a regulatory need, but there's a need for better infrastructure, okay? The DEQ probably sets the standards for what you do. We know that. You know, we're in that business. You know, and we're getting bigger into that business, but somehow they've got to, the people that we represent, the average citizen, got to somehow have some level of understanding of why it went up 3 or 4 years ago. Now it's going up again. They hadn't added a house in their subdivision. You haven't been out there changing pipes. Then again, they may have no issues, but it keeps going up. Okay.
A couple of points.
It's just, you're just one portion of what people are taxed on, or what people, the burdens people inherit and increases that they don't have any control of, okay? That's it.
Okay, sir, but it's
Thank you.
actually not, I can't let you make those comments unless you really would like those answers. This is really just for our discussion if we have questions.
Certainly understand.
No, I don't need any comment.
Okay, great. Councilman Satterley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Now I have 2 more questions. I'm going to put on my PSC hat, and I'm sitting here thinking, the idea, again, back to that 4th whereas, which is causing me the most angst, that 2 things can happen from here, obviously. It could go forward without a resolution of this council, or it could go forward with, actually 3 things if we go back to the idea of deferment for now, but let's just say of those 2. And so I'm a PSC Public Service Commissioner, and I get it. I probably know what you're going to say, Mr. Raga, so maybe I need to ask this to O'Neill Parrington after I find out who authored this. I guess, O'Neill, you wrote this resolution? So when it would come before me as a PSC Commissioner, to say that it wouldn't, it's not after your company or anyone in particular, because the broad stroke language of many companies are not in compliance, which we can't seem to even absolutely definitively say tonight you are or aren't as a company within that broad stroke of many companies. To me, with all respect to Benny's argument, okay, and of course the fact that I really, want to move the sewerage program of this parish forward, it would influence me as a commissioner if there's a resolution from this entire council saying don't give them a rate increase, versus if it didn't, then it would be just, and I see that argument too, up to, and I assume you'll be arguing there as well as you will be here. And
Yes,
you
sir.
would probably much rather like to argue without a resolution than with one.
Of course.
And so, again, back to Mr. O'Neill, when you were writing this, what would have prompted you to write in the current, current non-compliance? Is it, are you sure?
We did a general resolution. At the request, I met with Councilman Johnson and did a general resolution. If you're not in compliance, we don't want you to get a rate increase, for sure.
So in your mind, O'Neill, then it would be up to the PSC to say, even though they gave this resolution, it's general, and they can prove to the PSC through Mr. Rieger's data and whatever he presents that they are in compliance, this resolution in that regard wouldn't hurt them at all.
Well, the resolution is the resolution. I mean, it's sent there for the reasons that Councilman Johnson spoke. But it says if you're current, it was definitely detailed that those who are not in compliance. Because there is a rate resolution of someone who is not in compliance, pending right now.
There's a resolution coming from us, you say?
No, I'm sorry. There's a company proposing an increase, and we don't think that company's in compliance.
Okay.
We have another one that's bankrupt, so we don't know what.
Right.
That one's kind of really up in the air. But my understanding is they were going to be purchased, and if they would come in, somebody would purchase them and then come in and seek rate increase, and we don't, if they're not in compliance, we clearly do not want them to have a rate increase. But it was a general resolution that I drafted at the request of Councilman Johnson. I can't put words in his mouth.
See,
I just draft the paper.
I appreciate what you're saying, because that's where my vote would hinge tonight on the compliance issue. So I don't know, Mr. Chairman, we can have more discussion, but I'm prepared to offer a substitute motion if that's acceptable.
I'm sorry, the substitute motion was for what?
That we would defer this until we can clear up the issue definitively of whether or not AWT is in compliance with the DEQ or not.
Okay.
May die for lack of a second, but let's see.
Do you wish to refer that to a particular committee or to come back to the council?
Yeah, why don't we defer it to, I guess it's our job, the Utilities Committee, go back to them and, you know, and see whether or not we can get that information, and then the resolution we bring back up here might change as a result, or it may not change at all.
All right, there's a substitute motion on the floor for referring this to the Utilities Committee. Is there a second?
I'll second that, Mr. Chairman.
I have a second. Okay, we have a substitute motion on the floor then. Discussion, Councilman Johnson? Councilman Joseph, I'm sorry.
My quick, lost my train of thought. If we go back to it, this resolution really does not do anything. I understand all your concern, but this resolution does not do anything with the Public Service Commission, besides they're gonna look at it. And you say you want more details on it, I can understand that, but I'm gonna ask the attorney, are you gonna give the parish government or us the document that we're gonna see what you wanna do, what your rate increase?
It is a matter of public record. The document rate increase, when it's filed, as a matter of course, is provided to the parish government. You know, we filed that when we filed the rate increase back in early part of June. It's something that is part of the protocol that we are required to do, as we understand it.
Mr. Dawson? I mean, were we provided that information?
Dempsey.
We, you know, if it wasn't like anything that just came to us and said this is the direction and this is something that we're trying to do. It wasn't discussed with the parish about the rate increase and where we're going. But it is a fact that it is public record, and we'll have to go to the Public Service Commission and try to get it. As the President said, that even the information of whether or not, you know, any company is in compliance, that's a matter of public record, but we have to go to the DEQ and ask for the information. And one other thing while I'm up, I just want to state, recently I received an email from a lady who got $30,000 worth of damage because of a sewer overflow in her house. Now, I can tell you, and credit to AWT, Mr. Pertry immediately asked, hey, is that anything have to do with my company? And it's not his company. But it was $30,000 worth of damage. The lady is in California. She lived here in Ascension. She's leasing a house. She had to fly back to try to deal with $30,000 worth of sewer damage that flooded the whole lower level of her home. So, you know, it's something that we have to look at dealing with, and that's, you know, that's however this council wishes in order to handle it. But, Mr. Joseph, we would have to request the information. Nothing is in our ordinances, or nothing comes to us prior to that application by any company and requesting our input on any increases.
Other discussion? Councilman Steiner, and then
I mean, real quick, I mean, I've heard discussions about that we're just looking at people that are not compliant and trying to restrict them. You know, if that's the case, and we're trying to identify the bad companies and have the PSC try to hold them accountable, then I'm 100% on board. But if we're doing a blanket resolution that just denies all increases, then that's something different. If companies doing what they're supposed to do and they need to get more money to stay in compliance, and the Public Service Commission sees that's the truth, then why should we not? If we have a company over here that's not doing what they're supposed to do and they want some more money to continue doing that, then we need to oppose that. So I would be for justifying rate increases and trying to penalize the ones that are not doing what they're supposed to. But, you know, if it's determined that the other ones are meeting that obligation, then so be it. You know, I've got two different stories here that we're looking to try to keep the ones that are not compliant from getting a rate increase. If that's the case, I'm on board with that. But I'm not for punishing the ones that are in compliance. And it kind of seems like what's the end result of this. So if you want to take it back to try to come back with something a little more definitive, that's fine with me. I think we're on the right track to try to do something. I think everybody wants to do something to move forward, so.
Councilman Johnson?
I'm not opposed, and I appreciate the discussion here tonight about this resolution. It's gone a lot further than what I thought it would, but it's been good discussions. Moving it back to Utilities Committee is not something I'm for or opposed to. Again, the concern that was raised with this from the beginning of it was the impact that it's going to have or potentially have on the parish in moving forward with a wastewater system in that for us to do. I'm not sure whether being in compliance or out of compliance as far as whether we vote on this tonight or next month or whenever is all that big of a deal, and to an extent, I understand it's a big deal when they're either in compliance or out of compliance, but as far as moving forward with it, it's the purview of what the body wants to do. I'm willing to work with anybody to do whatever we need to do, but I'm struggling to see where it's going to get us anywhere. Again, if Mr. Pertwee's petition towards the Public Service Commission is as good as what he says it is, don't see where this resolution is going to have effect on it either way. He's got to prove his case in order to get his rate increase, whether this resolution goes for the Public Service Commission or not. This simply states what our stance is as far as our concerns towards any rate increase by anyone, not only on the effects of the citizens directly, but indirectly. And going forward with the potential cost increases to us moving forward with our systems. And with...
Okay. Councilman Kluwat.
Yeah, I just want to clear the air real quick. I know you've been standing there. You know, I appreciate you standing, but you can sit down. I mean, we're just discussing right now, and I want to clear the air with everybody that this does not say Ascension Water anywhere on this resolution, okay? It basically, it's a concern. So appreciate you doing your due diligence and getting everything squared up, all right? Like I said, now the people of Ascension know, and we've had a chance to let some of their voice be heard about some of these rate increases that's coming from different companies. And I want to let the private companies know that these people don't have a choice. They can't cut their pipe and go to somebody else tomorrow. You know? So I hope that everybody that works in the utilities, including the parish, delivers a good service to the people. And I would think that anybody that's got a business, because I work in a large industry, that, you know, you should have backup power. You should have plan B. You should have emergency plans, okay? That's it. You know, so you know, sometimes people need to be heard. They don't have a choice. All they do is get a bill and get another bill saying it's higher, okay? It's up to due diligence of us to explain to people what we do within government. It's up to due diligence of the private industry to explain to people what they're doing with the services that they're providing for them, especially the services that they don't have a choice of changing. Thank you.
I'd like to make a substitute motion that we send this back to utilities for a resolution that would be more of a consensus with this body, and that anyone that wishes to send their opinions to the committee, to be in the committee to offer their opinions on it, we'd have time to send that, and we can do it. We need to have a special meeting. It's something that's important. We can do that, and then come back and send a resolution that's more agreeable to this whole body, and not, you know, and instead of dividing ourselves on something that I think we're pretty close at.
Well, I think we actually already have one on the floor already. Councilman Sixer about sending it to Utilities Committee to reconsider, so I think that one will suffice. Okay, so we have a substitute motion on the floor to send this back to Utilities to have some further discussion about coming forward with a resolution or not. So is there any further discussion, or are we going to take a vote on that substitute motion?
I call a question on the
Okay. Let's go ahead and, Madam Secretary, I don't hear any more discussion. Let's go ahead and do a roll call, please. And this is a substitute motion, so a yes vote will be for the move to defer this to the Utilities Committee. Madam Secretary.
Councilman Kluat.
Yes.
Councilman Johnson.
Yeah.
Councilman Joseph.
Yeah.
Councilman Dempsey Lambert.
Yes.
Councilman Todd Lambert.
Yes.
Councilman Melanson.
Yes.
Councilman Satterly.
Yes.
Councilman Shake Snyder.
Yes.
Councilman Turner.
Yes.
That motion passes. We'll move to item number 8. I'm sorry.
Can we take a break so they can remove their,
Yes. We will pause for a 1-minute recess. Larry, if you wish to get the trophies out of the way.
You realize that we're getting into this?
Sorry for making you wait.
Motion to reconvene, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
A motion to reconvene by Councilman Johnson, a second by Councilman Kluat. The motion passes. We are reconvened. We will move to item number 9, fiscal year 2014 Emergency Management Performance Grant. Ms. Collins.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the council. We were awarded $37,783. We are here to ask for a resolution for the council to approve to accept this award for the fiscal year 2014 Emergency Management Performance Grant and authorize the parish president to sign all documents and Ms. Gwen LeBlanc for all
Motion by
financial.
Councilman Johnson, second by Councilman Todd Lambert. Any discussion? Any objections? That motion passes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Item 10 is zoning review ID 2418.14 to amend the Ascension Parish zoning map from Conservation C to Light Industrial LI, located on the east side of South Darla Avenue, approximately 2,900 feet south of LA Highway 30, to accept or deny, and the zoning commission recommended approval of this rezone.
Move to accept.
I have a motion to
Planning and
accept
zoning's
the
recommendation.
Planning Commission's recommendation to approve the rezone by Councilman Todd Lambert and a second by Councilman Melanson. Any discussion? Any objection? That motion passes. Item number 11 is zoning review ID 2293.14, tract A-1-A, containing 4.57 acres for Luther and Martha Wells, located on the west side of Highway 929, approximately 1,600 feet south of LA Highway 42, to amend the Ascension Parish zoning map from medium intensity RM to mixed use MU to accept or deny, and the zoning commission had recommended denial of this item.
Motion to accept.
I have a motion to accept the planning commission, the zoning commission's recommendation to deny from Councilman Todd Lambert.
Second.
Second by Councilman Johnson. Any discussion? Any objection? The motion passes. We're passing on 12. We're going to move into our introduction of ordinance section. This is item 13, an introduction of ordinance to amend the Ascension Parish zoning map from Conservation C to Light Industrial LI, located on the west side of St. Darla Avenue, approximately 2,700 feet east of Louisiana Highway 30, Lot A-2 of the Wilbert Sheets property for Gladys and Bill McManus.
Motion introduced.
Motion to introduce by Councilman
Second.
Johnson, second by Councilman Kluat. Any objections? Ordinance is introduced. We'll move to item 14, introduction of an ordinance to amend the Ascension Parish zoning map from medium intensity residential RM to mixed use 2 MU2, located on the north side of Corner View Road, LA Highway 429, approximately 5,800 feet east of LA Highway 73, 1.004 acre lot for Lamarck Incorporated.
Motion.
Motion introduced by Councilman Kluat, second by Councilman Johnson. Any objections? Ordinance is introduced. Item 15 is an introduction of an ordinance to amend the Ascension Parish zoning map from medium intensity residential RM to mixed-use corridors MU, located on the north side of Seabro Road, approximately 800 feet west of Louisiana Highway 73, tract 2-3, lot 2-A, 2-B, 2-C, and 2-D for Janine B. Brown, Ronald Brown, Kermit A. Bro Jr., Darrell Bro, and Carolyn B. Reams.
Motion introduced.
Motion introduced by Councilman Melanson, second by Councilman Todd Lambert. Any objections? Ordinance is introduced. Item 16 is an introduction to ordinance to amend the Ascension Parish zoning map from light industrial LI to mixed-use corridors MU, located on the southwest corner of Louisiana Highway 30 and South St. Landry Road, for a portion of Tract B for William and Mary Lee Dixon.
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Dempsey Lambert, second by Councilman Kluat to introduce. Any objection? Ordinance is introduced. Item 17 is introduction of an ordinance to revoke the 2 existing 15-foot drainage servitudes running across Lot 3-A Commerce Center. First filing, this was moved to council via Unified Development Code 17-4050B.2.A.
Motion.
Motion by
Second.
Councilman Johnson, second by Councilman Kluwat to introduce. Any objections? Ordinance is introduced. Moving to the public hearing section, item 18 is the reading of an ordinance to authorize the use of equipment installment purchase agreements. Mr. Parrington.
To authorize the use of equipment installment purchase agreements for the acquisition of movables necessary for the operation of parish government, whereas the parish of Ascension has a need for certain movable assets and equipment, and whereas the capital expenditure for the purchase of said movable assets are best served by a payment schedule, and whereas the parish of Ascension desires to use such acquisition process as authorized by law. Whereas be it ordained by the Ascension Parish Council, acting in its capacity as the governing authority, that it hereby declares the equipment installment purchase agreements in the form and substance attached as Exhibit A may be used for the acquisition of movable assets and equipment. The parish president is authorized to sign all necessary documents to complete said acquisitions, provided that the yearly payments are available in the budget. The parish fiscal agent shall be deemed the proper agency for the use of said equipment installation and installment purchase agreements. In the event any portion of this ordinance is ever held to be invalid or unconstitutional for any reason by any court of competent jurisdiction over it, such portion shall be deemed separate and distinct and independent provisions shall not affect the validity of the remaining portions of the ordinance. This ordinance shall be in full effect as permitted by law. The ordinance having been submitted to a vote, the vote thereon was as follows.
Motion to open public hearing.
Second.
Motion to open the public hearing by Councilman Johnson, second by Councilman Satterley.
Motion to close, Mr.
Motion to
Chairman.
close by Councilman Todd Lambert, second by Councilman Lawson.
Motion to ordinance.
Motion to move the ordinance by Councilman Johnson.
Second.
Second by Councilman Todd Lambert. Any discussion? Any objection? Ordinance is adopted. Item 21 is the reading of an ordinance for budget amendment number 3 to amend the 2014 budget. Mr. Parrington.
An ordinance to amend the ordinance approving and adopting and appropriating the 2014 operating and capital budgets for the parish of Ascension, adopted by the Ascension Parish Council on the 7th day of November 2013. Section 1, the Ascension Parish Council hereby ordains that the parish of Ascension is hereby amended, approved, and appropriated as follows. Operating budget, ACUD number 2, operating and other financing uses, transfer out of wastewater construction fund, $1 million. Capital budget, wastewater and construction fund revenues and other financing transfer in from ACUD number 2, $1 million. Expenditures or other financing uses, engineering fees, $1 million. The ordinance have been submitted to a vote. The vote thereon was as follows.
Motion to open public hearing.
Motion to open the public hearing by Councilman Johnson.
Second.
Second by Councilman Kluwat.
Motion to close.
Motion to close by Councilman Satterley, second by Councilman Dempsey Lambert.
Motion to ordinance.
Motion to move the ordinance by Councilman Johnson.
Second.
Second by Councilman Kluwat. Any discussion? Any objection? The motion passes. We will need, for item 24, which is employee appeal, a motion to move to executive session by Councilman Dempsey Lambert, second by Councilman Kluwat. I think we need a roll call, don't we, Madam Secretary? Yes.
Yes.
Councilman Kluwat.
Yes.
Councilman Johnson.
Yes.
Councilman Joseph.
Yes.
Councilman Dempsey Lambert.
Yes.
Councilman Todd Lambert.
Yes.
Councilman Melanson.
Yes.
Councilman Satterley.
Yes.
Councilman Shake Snyder.
Councilman Snyder's absent. He had to leave at the break.
Councilman
for a second.
Turner.
Motion passes. We will move to executive session.
Motion to reconvene. Are we ready? Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Motion to reconvene.
Motion to reconvene by Councilman Johnson.
Second.
Second by Councilman Kluwat.
Yeah.
We are reconvened.
I make a motion that Mr. Lewis' appeal be extended to July 24th, next meeting.
A motion by Councilman Joseph and a second by Councilman Turner. Any objections? That motion passes. Before we adjourn, I want to thank Lieutenant Ricky Bergeron for being with us. Thank you, sir. Councilman Todd Lambert.
Motion adjourned.
Motion adjourned.
Second.
Second by Councilman Johnson. Any objections? We are adjourned.